This picks up in about July 2014 text messages between me and my Aunt Linda, amongst the same ridicule and harassment we've been going through. Most of this has been covered in other text messages and back and forth and so forth. Continued. Please, again, this is quite lengthy. Please hit pause and play, pause and play. Sorry, drop that. My phone's freezing up. start this over.
Why?
Text messages from Jess forwarded to my Linda. My statements again to my niece that I forwarded. And conversations between Maya and us. The doctors in Wyoming were not giving our mothers and or us proper medical attention. They did not even have my mother on the right medications. Arteries in her neck are blocking up one thing or another, and eventually we are going to have to face surgery. Partially related to doctors not giving my mother full exams or proper medication. That could have prevented a lot of this from being needed so soon. If it wasn't for the doctors here, I myself would have never been able to get the surgery in Wyoming. My mother would have never had a proper and thorough exam. We would not be able to do these things. This is the happiest place we've ever come to be. My mother has not been this happy since the time of my father's passing. We all love it up here. It's great, it's close. The doctors and everybody are good, excellent. We actually wish we could have done this years ago. Look, you guys don't need addresses on how to find us here, but I gave Domry the address. For my niece. These are all forwarded to my aunt. You've pretty much seen these. My mother also sees these text messages from Jess and everybody. She's even made it known to them that she didn't like the way that they were talking to me, or any of their text messages, or what they were saying unto me. She also did not approve of the way they treated my Aunt Linda. All these things drastically hurt and put more questions into our minds of why and what versus their motives. Still conversation between me and my niece. I believe you already read it. For all these, to Domry and Jess, or there are issues in court against us, that's fine. Just know my mother will be there. I would just like to ask one thing. How the hell do you think? Nah, I don't even know what to fucking say there. How can you have such a great relationship with my mother when you've never been a part of her life, and everything that you have done that has been a part of her life has been hell, discontent, or eventually just trying to expose to my mother?
6 years.
Even prior to that, why did you never go to Wamsutter? How come you never went out when my father was alive? My mother was there. Why didn't you go out? Why didn't you call? Why didn't you visit? Bottom line is questions. What kind of relationship did you have with my mother and father that prevented you from going out and visiting or talking or calling my mother and father while they were alive? How is it now all of a sudden you're trying to claim that you have an awesome relationship with my mother and all of your intentions have been full-hearted and in the best interest of my mother when everything else shows oddly and straightforwardly against that? How come it is everybody in the world approves of anything and everything we have done for our mothers except for you and Dawn? And why do you guys keep making references to my mother's money as yours? Why did you refuse to do anything for my wife or my mother while I was being detained? And how come you could still not sacrifice more than 2 days out of a year to even come visit or sit with them or do anything? These are serious questions. How much time do I have?
4 minutes.
These are serious questions. Now, and again, they have nothing to do with me or my wife. The relationship you've had with my mother and my father is built on that of your own actions, your own respect towards one another. Obviously, if my parents have run you guys off repeatedly, consistently, for the way you've treated them, things you've done to them, said to them, etc. Just like me, I'm not afraid to admit I have a piss poor relationship with my sister because I just flat out don't respect what she represents and or the things that she has done to me personally. But again, I have no say in the way my mother feels or my mother's and father's reasons to how they felt about them. But I know mine are sound. And I know that of my father's and mother's to be sound from what they have shared with me. Do not come up out of the woodwork in the last few minutes. After I've stood by my mother's and father's side basically my entire life, been consistently by their side for the last 12 years. And my wife and I have consistently fought for my mother's rights on all levels repeatedly over the course of the last 4 or 5 years. When all you've done is basically try to eliminate that of my mother. And in every action and every intent and every phase through this, you're constantly going after my mother's assets. You had plans to sell the motel. You tried forcing me and my wife to giving you full all of my mother's monies and interest. When she immediately got in the hospital, then you did everything in the world to prevent us from allowing my mother to come home. You repeatedly then went out trying to get power of attorney. You told the doctors that she couldn't come home. We had to fight for that. Then you tried getting my mother to sign power of attorney, again before my mother was released from the hospital. So then again you can carry out that of your own intent. Not once have you ever put my mother first. I do believe that all of your actions are out of vengeance, hatefulness, greed, selfishness, while you're trying to blame me and or my wife for the cause of my mother's mistrust within you. We went to the lawyers via the power of protection or power of attorney when that was instated. Again, in 2013 after my release. And again, when the will was brought up, my mother was hounded for a good 15 minutes or better on each topic, each subject pertaining to you and Jess, as well as my mother's wishes and intent to who she trusted with her life and to see through her wishes. My mother made that perfectly clear, even in the form of how she had those papers drawn up. She was very adamant in each session, with each lawyer in each event, who she trusted, who she wished to empower. Believe me, them lawyers pumped my mother many times. Are you sure you don't want Domery to do this? Are you sure you would not put Jess or Domery in this position? Are you sure that this is what you want and want to do? My mother was adamant on all issues pertaining to all things. The only thing she did not want to go into was her reasons or motives for why she did not wish to give them power of attorneys and or entrust what she entrusted within my wife. And at the same aspect, why she wished to forfeit adding Domery and Jess into the will. Again, it had nothing to do with me or Rhonda. Again, primarily to the relationship that they had built and were refused to invest in with my mother. Their actions, their attitudes, in most all these areas. No one can blame my mother for what she has done. It is my honor, my job, my duty to do my best for my mother in any and all areas. But here too, it is also my obligation to defend her, represent her, honor and respect her in any and all ways and areas. And I shall do so. And my mother does have a voice. My mother does have a say in all this. And by God, it best be heard. I apologize for all these contents, messages, and postings. Again, they all evolve around this and nothing else. I do not plan on having any other postings relating to this. These are primarily for my sister and them, and also the other ones to show that something did happen and was taking place in Wamsutter and to my family. That can't be denied. We should have had resolve on a lot of things and still have not been able to. And I doubt it. Money's everything else, issues. We're doing our best to maintain and move forward. It just seems like there's a lot of different forces out there in a lot of different areas that are doing everything in their power to stop and prevent it from, or allowing us the chance, and keep trying to destroy all we're doing. I hate to think that, but we have there. What else are we to think? Again, last 4 years, 5 years caring for my mother, no complaints from Domery or Jess. And in text messages, you can see they compliment us, they adore us. We're the best. But at the same time, you also see the slip flag and all their actions and courses that they've taken against us. I've had to threaten my sister 2 times by pressing charges against her to stop the harassment and their threats and their oncoming calls. We will deal with these issues. And I will seek lawsuits pertaining to them as well. Counter lawsuits, whatever. God bless people. Once again, I do apologize for all this.
God bless you.